It's a little bit lighter in here. Somebody's not here though. Somebody's not here.
Well, the cameras. There's not as many cameras.
Who out of the beat crew is not here? Yeah, like you're all here. It just like seems like there's less people. That's the problem we have here.
You're just pretending we don't exist.
All right, let's sum up today a little bit, and then you guys can fire away. So, came into the day, fourth round came up and traded our third round pick in 2019 to get up to take Deshaun Hand, defensive lineman from Alabama. Thought it was a really good value pick. Big, strong guy, position versatility, can play inside, can play outside. Good scheme fit for us. Good knowledge of our defensive line coach. That helped. Knows our technique. Met with him at the pro day. Matt and I went down there to the pro day. Met with all those guys. Had a good meeting with Deshaun. So felt that was a really good pick for us there. And moving down to next round, we took Tyrell Crosby, offensive lineman from Oregon. Another good value pick. He really stood out on the board, well above everybody else, kind of at that point. So it was a really pretty easy pick when we talked about it. And then followed up in the seventh round with Nick Bawden, fullback from San Diego State. So productive day. Staff's still working upstairs on rookie free agents. Got a couple, I would say, agreements. As you guys know, nothing official until they sign their contracts, but I'm sure you guys are doing Twitter searches as we speak. So.
Crosby that made him stand out on the board to you guys? I know that he's been called things like a bad-bodied assassin. I mean, there's been a lot of different descriptions of this guy.
Yeah, I meant that he was well ahead of everybody else on the board at that time. So we had him graded, a lot higher than where we probably took him. So thought the value was just too good to pass up. It wasn't a size, toughness, playing strength. Played left tackle in college. Has practiced at other spots. We see him as a guy that has multiple positions along our front. So had him in for a visit a couple weeks ago. So it was a good day. So brings a lot to the table.
Just to clarify, potential to move inside beyond tackle, guard maybe?
Yeah, possibly. I think he's a tackle first and foremost. That, once we get him in here, he's never played guard. So we're going to have to see how it goes. But I think in terms of his size, his skill set, that he has a chance to kind of give us some depth at both spots. We'll see how it goes when he gets here. Mike?
You guys 11 months ago released your fullback. It sounded like there wasn't going to be a commitment to a fullback in the offense anymore, and now you draft one. Is that a drastic change of philosophy, or is that just a Jim Caldwell thing, or why, I guess, go back to the fullback less than a year after getting rid of it?
Yeah, just some of the conversations we've had in the offseason since Matt's gotten here with some of the new staff members. Just something we kind of wanted to add to the mix to kind of give our offense a little bit more of I'd say a physical presence. So, we're going to have – and listen, it's a seventh-round pick, so, it is what it is. But, he's a guy that we liked. So we wanted to add a fullback this offseason, and, he was a good value at that pick.
You said Hand had. Oh, sorry, Mike.
I just want to ask you one thing about Hand. He has a wrestling background, all-state wrestler. Is that something you look at? Is that an asset for players in certain positions? Because of the techniques?
Yeah, certain positions. That isn't his background. I think if you look at offensive and defensive linemen, if they do have a wrestling background, it probably helps to some degree, but that doesn't push him up or down the board. But it's a good thing we look at.
A follow-up on Hand. You said he's got position versatility. Is there a starting point for him? Do you see him inside, outside, or are you just going to kind of get him here and see where he fits?
Yeah, I think once you guys see us line up in OTAs, you're going to see that you're going to have to really pay close attention to where guys line up. So we're not going to have a base 3-4 or a base 4-3. So he's a defensive lineman that can play really anywhere from, I'd say, 7 technique all the way down to nose, depending on the different fronts we're going to use. So that was one of the things we really liked about him.
With Hand, number one recruit in the country when he was coming in.
Yep.
The counting stats aren't necessarily there. I don't know how much of that is Alabama's scheme. What type of player is he? What is the ceiling for a guy like that?
I think he has a great ceiling. I think he brings a rare combination of size, length, athleticism. He's a really thickly built guy. Once you guys see him in person, he's really thickly thick, good body. That the position versatility, the playing strength, the technique, all those things that we look for. really stood out. And yeah, he was a very high recruit coming out, and he maybe didn't live up to all those expectations, but that does not mean he's not a good player.
Having Bo Davis in the room, how much did that help mitigate maybe some of the fears you have if you didn't have that kind of first person?
Yeah, I mean, those things help. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't help. If you have a coach on the staff that has been in a room on a practice field in the same facility with a player for X amount of years, that helps the evaluation. Does that bring it up the board? No. The value is what the value is, but is there a comfort level taking a guy? If you can go to an exposition coach and say, hey, what makes this guy tick? How can we motivate this guy? Is he going to be a good worker in the building? He's going to be on our culture. He's going to be in our program. And if we get a yes on all those questions, it's a lot easier to take a guy.
Back to Crosby for a quick second. Mike
Yep.
Mayock said that he had, there were some concerns about concussions that he had. How many
Yep.
concussions has he had? How big of a concern is that to you guys?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment exactly how many he had. I don't actually know off the top of my head, but he came in. Another guy that had the physical at the combine, passed the physical at the combine, came in here for a visit a few weeks ago, met our doctors, and he's cleared.
Well, you've shown a tendency to draft SEC guys up at the top of your board, I think all 3 years. Is there something special about that conference and the way it translates to immediate contributions in the NFL?
Well, I know I'm in Big Ten country here, so I'm gonna tread lightly here. SEC has a great brand of football. I think when you watch SEC football, it's probably the closest thing in terms of scheme to the NFL. Listen, the level of competition, I think each conference in different years has different level of teams. The Big Ten being right up there as well. It's just really the level of competition to see guys against better players on a consistent day by day, week by week. If we go out to practice at a Alabama or an LSU or Tennessee or a Michigan State, all those, these guys are practicing against good players every day. And on Saturdays, they're playing against good competition. So that just helps the evaluation process when you're trying to project a guy to play at our level.
All three guys that you picked today were Senior Bowl participants. Was that coincidence, or did
Yeah,
anyone stand out there?
I knew that, but I didn't realize that. Listen, the Senior Bowl is a great event because it's the best of the senior class, and I think the Senior Bowl, I'd say in the last 4 to 5 years, has been greatly improved. I think Phil Savage, who runs the Senior Bowl, deserves a lot of credit for that because he does a great job of getting the type of players that the NFL teams want to see. He does a great job. He gets out on the road himself, and he scouts players to get the best guys there. So, that's part of the evaluation process. We can sit there and watch, Deshaun Hand go one-on-one against a player on his team during practice. And you guys know I go every year. That's something I'll never miss because those opportunities to see these guys live and then go back and watch the tape against the best competition in the country it's really invaluable in the evaluation process.
With the two offensive linemen you took, neither of them allowed a sack last year. Is that coincidence, or was that?
A little bit of a coincidence. We look at all those stats, but the bottom line is like how good of a player is he on tape. That's a great bonus, obviously, that they're productive and you can quantify things. But I think they're both highly competitive guys. I think they're big, strong, and tough, and they're smart. So those are the kind of guys that we want to bring in here, and that's how the board fell.
To what end does it feel like you guys have really solidified where you want to go with the run game and how that might have been one of your top areas of improvement?
Yeah, no, I've been talking about that since January, and I think, like I said, I think the last night, the night before, we don't play till September, so I think we added some offensive linemen. We've added a running back in free agency. We've added a running back in the draft. So I think, on paper, should our run game be better? Yeah, probably. Now it's up to the players and the coaches and all of us to, make sure we get out to the spring portion of our practices to implement the new guys into the system, get to training camp, and, we'll have a very physical training camp, and we'll see how everything comes together. So I think the pieces are there. Now it's really up to, all of us in the building to kind of make sure these guys produce at a high level.
Rob, I guess what went into your overarching decision to emphasize trying to fix the run game versus maybe trying to fix the pass rush in the draft?
I think it's supply and demand. You look at the board, I'd say, quite honestly, there was much more depth along the offensive line and at running back than there was at pass rush. And the pass rushers came off pretty early, and then there was a huge drop-off. So supply and demand every year.
With guys like,
You had, there's a common thread, it looks like there's a common thread with the offensive players you had as far as on-field physicality, demeanor, toughness, gritty players. Was that a point of emphasis to kind of change the whole overall attitude of the players you brought in?
Yeah, it was. Something we looked at, long and hard about, guys finishing plays. I mean, if you go through the highlights they show on Rag now, and you can watch Crosby play against good competition out west, and you see how Carry-On carries the ball and finishes his runs. That was something we talked about in February when Matt and his staff came in about what we thought could make the team better. And you can really get specific into what you want, what you need for the team. But in my mind, I got to have a bigger, broader, like, all right, what do we want the team to look like? Okay, all right, we want a big, strong, tough, physical team in the trenches. So that's my job to kind of fill those roles in terms of the player side, and then it's Matt and his coaches to kind of implement that style in terms of scheme. So it was an emphasis, and I think so far so good. We got to get these guys in here. These guys have not played an NFL snap yet, so they got to come in. They have a lot to learn. We have high expectations for all of them, but once they get in here, we'll throw them into the system.
How much did you
just
feel
back
it
to
was
the running
like-
game for 1 second, were you wanted to focus on it, were you able to focus on it even more than you thought you would be based on how many guys you picked up?
Yeah, looking back at it, maybe. Obviously we wanted to add an offensive lineman early in the draft, and we did that. We wanted to add a running back, and I think the Crosby pick was just the value. Like, honestly, if you asked me last night if I thought he was going to be there in the 5th round, I probably would have said no chance. I thought we talked about it this morning. I thought he was going to be probably one of the first 5 or 10 guys off the board in round 4. So, it was a long wait.
Why do you think he did fall? Why do you think he did fall in the draft?
I'm not sure. That's probably a better question for the other teams. Sorry to kind of sidestep it, but we had him up there, so I don't know what all the other teams were saying about him. But I'd say my phone was dinging a lot after we took him, saying nice things from my colleagues. So it makes you feel good.
How much help is left out there still in defensive, in free agency?
Say it one more time.
How much help is still out there along the defensive line in free agency? There's a few vets that
Yeah.
maybe you guys could be active in.
Yeah, there's a few vets that we've been talking to the last couple of weeks, so I think we'll revisit some of those conversations probably, midweek. We'll kind of take tomorrow off, kind of regroup, and get back in on Monday, look at the roster, kind of reset the needs a little bit. Just because the draft's over doesn't mean the needs are done. Like I always say, there's free agents out there, there's street guys, there's we're setting up tryouts for rookie minicamp, so we're always trying to turn the roster, and there's guys available.
Now that this draft is over, how different was it for you working with Matt, shared philosophies, et cetera? Was your board any smaller this time around than it was last
No,
time?
yeah, that's a good question. We actually take that number every year on our front board, and it was actually very close, within 5 players of how many players were on it last year. So the size of the board was the same. I'd say the draft mechanics were very similar. Matt's probably he's a little more lively, keeps it a little looser. So we had some fun in there, which is good. But the whole draft process itself was the same. He's used to what we do here because where he came from, so he's been through it the same way. So it was really smooth in terms of transition.
With all the calls that you made and received on the trade front, was there any conversations or interest in players currently on your roster beyond just draft pick exchanges?
There was not. Yeah, there was not.
You guys have any joint practices lined up yet? Do you expect to do that?
Yeah, we are working on those. We have nothing confirmed yet. I think we're working on, once we get everything signed, sealed, and delivered, we'll have something to give to you guys, but just nothing yet. We kind of, the process, so you guys know, I know this is a big topic during league meetings, and there was a rumor about a team, right? So give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes here. So you kind of talk to teams in February and March and say, hey, we want to play in the preseason. Yeah, I'd love to play in the preseason. You want to come out for a day and practice? Yeah, that'd be great. Well, we can make all the plans we want. We submit our list to the league of who we want to play in the preseason. It's really like a request list, and they fill them as they can. So that's why, you guys want to know in March. I don't even know. So, some things happen that the league doesn't help us out with the teams we want to play. And then you get your schedule, and you're like, all right, well, I wanted to play the other team, but I got to play this team. Let's call them. And these things takes like a couple weeks to kind of put together. You're talking about, travel party, you can ask Kevin, like, we travel with 150 people. Trying to get a hotel room and office space for 4 or 5 days is like not real easy. So it takes a little time to put together. So.
Did you request a West Coast preseason game because you're going out there this year?
Oh no.
I was just checking.
Feeling okay, Mike?
I figured the answer was no, but you never know.
Hey, always ask so you know the answer, right? Because you're a good reporter.
That's been talked about.
We've talked about that one, yeah. We're talking to a couple teams, and once we can confirm something, huh?
I hope that one or two. I know,
At least one. Yeah, we're working on one. We'll see if it happens with two, or we're not quite there yet. Wish I could tell you more, but I don't even know. All right, I'm here for a couple more. It's
I want to follow up sorry.
pizza. You guys get pizza?
I just wanted to follow up my earlier question about you saying there was an emphasis to bring in the toughness. How much did you think that was lacking on the roster?
I think it was lacking. I think when you look at the team last year and you go back and you study what we did well, which I do every week, and then at the end of the year, what we did poorly. And I think, really this game comes down to a couple things. Like NFL games come down to about 5 plays or less every week. And most of these plays are short yardage, goal line, third down, red area, special teams. So if you can get your team to perform better in those situational areas, and you can win the majority of those 4 or 5 plays, then you're going to have a better chance to win. So I think when you look back at our team last year, all those critical situations, like it's goal line, like we can't run the ball like half a yard, like that bothered me. So, I took it upon myself to, implement some changes in terms of what we want to do, what we want to look at, what we want to look like as a team. And, when Matt came in, I said, listen, this is what I think we need to do. And he was on board. And so that's kind of what our plan's been since, February 5th, whatever day that was. Okay, one more.
Because Patricia's a defensive guy, obviously, did you look at different types of defensive players than you would have in previous years?
It's a great question, and yes. You guys have watched us play. Our old defensive front was very much one gap, very much get up the field, and I'd say much less in terms of gap responsibility. So we are much more, I'd say, conscious of technique, holding our gaps, playing sound fundamentals rather than just getting up the field. So it's really we're not really a 2-gap team right now. I'd say we're definitely a mix, depending on what front we are in, what the situation is a pass rush, do we expect run? But last year we were, primarily a 1-gap up the field team. Good?
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging in there with us.